Ironman Lake Placid 2023. Let's get into it. A couple quick things. First, though, they still have not posted the athlete guide. The race is on the 23rd. It is the current 5th. We still don't have the 2023 version of the athlete guide, so we're going to roll through this very quickly. There are some key things that you need to know, even with this athlete guide, and we'll go through some of that very, very quickly here to just speed things up a bit. So this is the current year's schedule of events. On Thursday, the 20th, athlete check-in is available for the first time from 9 to 5. There is also an athlete briefing from 1 and at 3, both at the Oval. Friday, the 21st, athlete check-in is available on this is the last day for athlete check-in, 9 to 5, at the Lake Placid Convention Center. There's also an athlete briefing at noon and at 3 with a welcome ceremony happening at 6:30 to 7:30. Saturday, July 22nd, last day before the race, we have a couple of key things happening. First on everyone's agenda, of course, is the pancake breakfast happening from 7:30 to 9:30 a.m. We have a mandatory bike and gear check-in happening 10 to 3 p.m. You have to turn in your bike bag, and run bag as well. Athlete briefing is also happening at 11 a.m. day before the race. Sunday, race day. Transition does open 4:30 to 6 a.m. Personal needs bike drop-off is happening Cummings Road sidewalk near the Herb Brooks Arena. That is the closer one. There is also personal needs run bag drop-off over by the Stonewall at Mirror Lake. So I will dive out through here and I'll do this in a map view so you can see it a little bit easier. The stone wall happens right around here. Okay, this is Mirror Lake, where you will be swimming in and out of. You can see one of the lines right here in the water. So that run drop off is happening over here. The bike personal needs bag drop off in the morning is happening over here. Early risers can get here, and if you are one of the early arrivers at transition, you might want to think about putting your run bag last. If you are a late arriver, you might want to do the run bag first and then do everything down through here and then just hop out to the queues to get lined up for the transition area. For the swim start. Now, the pro men start is probably going to happen at the same time this year, 6:25. I'm going to be honest, I don't know if there is a pro women start this year at 6:27, just a couple of minutes after. But I'll dig into that and leave a comment down below if it is happening. The next big thing here is the age group start that is happening at 6:30 a.m. That is pretty standard and it's pretty similar every single year. Especially with a pro start mixed in there. Make sure you are in your queue a little bit earlier than that. There's been a lot of people who have arrived late to the swim start because they are dropping off their run personal needs bag and they've visually watched the race start without them there, and that does create a little bit of panic on race morning. Afterwards, Celebration Monday, personal needs bag pickup is available starting at 11. In reality, you can pick that up anytime you want the next day. They usually just leave them on the side of the road for you, and they're not really guarded or anything like that. So if you do want anything and you leave something valuable in there, make sure you do pick it up. Awards ceremony is happening at 9 a.m. for your VinFast Ironman World Championship slot allocation and roll down. And that's happening at the Horse Show Grounds on Celebration Monday. So now that that's taken care of, let's quickly sift through the 2022 athlete guide. It will look very similar with some minor date changes when they do decide to post it. Talks about where, when, and what to bring for your athlete check-in. Afterwards, your pre-race info talks about the bike or the bike and run gear bags, what colors the bags are, that kind of stuff. That mandatory athlete briefing, your morning clothes bag will happen at the swim start, which it usually always does. Gear bags is on page 10 of last year's athlete guide, and you can again sift through that and identify which bags are which. We have morning clothes bike, run is red, personal need bike is orange, and personal need run is black. The colors might change, so make sure you check that out in the next couple of days. They're probably going to be posting it soon. The aid stations every 15-ish miles on the bike and every mile on the run. This is one of those courses where they do the run aid stations very, very well. There is a host of things offered here, and it is usually a crowd favorite. Race day info like timing chips. If it's similar to the events that have been happening this year, your timing chip, you will pick that up once you do check in your bike and drop off your bike and run bags the day before the race. So you don't panic if you don't have it in your check-in bag. You will be able to receive those after you drop those materials off the day before the race, but don't leave without getting your timing chip the day before the race. Run cutoffs, everything cutoff is going to be posted on that page as well. Lost and found, all of that good stuff. Qualifying for the men, there's going to be a limited number of slots this year. For the women, there's going to be I think I remember 100 extra slots for the women, so make sure you do stick around, and if you're anywhere close, make sure you do head to that roll down just in case. Now the swim. This is similar to this year. This is a swim rolling start. You swim around the rectangle 2 times. So you out, over, and you do that in a clockwise fashion. You can see here that this is the transition, and you will, once you leave the transition on race morning, you'll have to walk over, and there'll be a queue or a bunch of people there, and you can see it a little bit better if we do max out the layers here. This is going to be where the swim start happens here. This is the beach that you will be corralled off in, and those corrals usually go beyond the barriers right through here, and you'll be lined up over here. There will be donjons, or there usually is at some point right through here, and this is a big communal gathering of people right through here, and this is a pretty packed area on race day. So if you are planning to see a loved one or something like that, it might be easier for you to actually do it right on this stretch of road right through here, because once you get to the entrance, which is here or here on race day, you kind of lose track of people, and it's very, very easy to just lose them in a sea of wetsuits out there. Going back to transitions, once you exit the swim, you will run down this road, and you'll take a right-hand turn right on Mirror Lake, and you will zig and zag right through the transition entrance, which is usually right through here. You will run around a bank queue line style area, and then you'll have the bags hanging there for you. What you will do is grab your bag, proceed out of this area, and go to your tent. Women are usually on the left, men are usually on the right. It's pretty straightforward, and if it's reversed, just make sure you look at it a couple of days before while you're walking around the transition area. Once you change out of there into your bike clothes, you will run around the oval and enter on the bottom of the oval. Run through, grab your bike wherever that is, and head out of transition, where you will mount right here where the mount/dismount line is always. At this point in time, you will probably coast down these 2 hills. This is a tight turn right here. Make sure you're in a medium to heavy size gear through this point in time, because this is all downhill, and once you get off of this little road here, you cross over School Street, it will dump you down pretty aggressively here. Last big thing I will tell you out on transit, or out, this is kind of a transition talk, is this road right at the bottom of Cottle Ave right here, this left-hand turn. This is almost always a place for high-speed crashes, again, because you are diving down this road here. And you really have the adrenaline pumping. You're starting Lake Placid Ironman bike. You know, people fly down this hill. It might be a little damp and a little bit of wetness happening on the ground here, and almost always people skid out even in dry conditions, so just be careful here. Another area of caution on this stretch of road, pretty much from the transition exit to the bottom over here where you pass Lisa G's, is that this is going to be a congested area, so make sure you are aware of people that are around you. And really, you know, I always tell people your ride doesn't really start until you pass Lisa G's and you start to climb up this shallow hill through here, and you can start to get some speed up through there. Whether you're a front runner or a back of packer, it doesn't matter. There's going to be people around you, and you just got to be very careful at this point. Backing up to the bike here, you will zig and zag through the town here. Once you have finished loop 1, you will pass or bike through Mirror Lake through here, take a sharp right-hand turn past the tennis courts, and you will have it looks like a sharp left-hander, but in reality it isn't. You can use the whole stretch of road here. Just be aware of what's happening around you. You might have someone near you, so you might not be able to use the whole stretch of road, but this is almost always very packed with people looking to cheer you on, and this is a big area where people overdo it out on the course. Don't do that. Please just bike your pace here and enjoy the people yelling at you. It is a fun environment. Then you will go down a short stretch of road here. It is a downhill, and then you will make another right-hand turn right on Cummings Ave, or Cummings Road. And this is a sharper corner that you need to be aware of. It doesn't look like it out on paper, but in reality it is, because it's coming at the bottom of a downhill. There's people everywhere, and you just have to have your awareness at maxed out. Then you will take a left-hand turn right behind the high school here, and instead of going up the hill to the transition area, you will go and do the exact same thing again. When you come back in the second time, you'll come around it and you will just go right up to the top here. It's an awesome dismount area, and you will just get off the bike, hand it to a volunteer, and happy days. You are out onto the run portion where you will get your bags on those queue lines, and again, you'll go into those change tents area. Again, women are usually here, men are usually here. You'll exit the change tent probably around here where that entrance is, for the Ironman store. And then you're out on the run. So let's back things up a lot here, and let's talk about the Ironman courses for you and your keys to success out on race day. So the swim, again, it is a 2-loop course. Make sure you check that out. 2-loop course. And in here, there's a host of things that you need to be aware of. First off, when we do start out here, it is a shallow sand start. Pretty easy. Pretty much where my arrow ends is going to be the point where you're going to have a little bit of extra effort or oomph on your swim start. Depending on who you are, that might last up until this right-hand turn right through here. If you're a front runner or a professional, it's going to last until that point in time. Once you make or get near these turns, for whatever reason at Lake Placid, both of the turns out here do have a lot of people kind of mixed in on race day. So make sure that when you are here, be ready to battle, okay? People almost always go and cut these buoys very, very tight, and they want to swim as little as possible on race day. Now, coming back, or almost coming back, making this little stretch right here, this is an area where swimmers usually swim into the sunlight there, and they get kind of shocked by it, and for whatever reason, this is another stretch of the swim that is almost always routinely slow across the board. It's a right-hand turn, don't overthink it, and then make another right-hand turn and keep on going. This whole stretch on the way back for the first loop, it's usually going to be a little bit faster. There is almost always someone willing to do the work for you, so I would highly encourage you to get into a group of 3 to 8. If possible, that again is a perfect scenario, and let them really drive the pace here. And if they are going too slow, don't be afraid to move around them, because there's going to be someone scattered around this course pretty much always. Once you get through that, there is another area of key contention here, and that is the dock right through here. See if we can zoom in a little bit more for you. So what's going to happen on race day is you are going to swim probably to about this point in time, and then you're going to have to cut over again before you head out onto land, where you will enter the water again. So this is an exiting swim course where you have to get out and get back in. You will cross a timing mat so they know that you have passed the first loop. On this first time when you show up, you really want to start kicking your feet, and this is the bad representation, but I'll show you on the course map right around this area right through here. If we're going through the course maps again, that is the area that is happening right through here. A lot of people wait until we're at the bottom over by this dock to start kicking your feet, and that's a little too late. And again, we're not talking about something crazy, just a slight increase in your kicks, and you'll be much better off getting out to go back in. Coming on this second loop here, we again are going to increase the pace just a little bit getting back in the water, but that is for just a couple of reasons. Number one, to get things rolling again. Number two, to catch up to someone if they had a faster exiting the water portion of the swim. If there's no one around you, then you can kind of ignore that. But if you are trying to bridge the gap to another group, if you are trying to catch someone else, that land portion of the swim is an easy place to do that and gain a lot of seconds back. But after this point in time, pretty much until you get all the way back to this corner up here, it's your pace. It is your pace. If you are a faster swimmer, you're probably going to start to run into people right at this point in time. And If you are a slower swimmer, you might have cleaner water throughout here, a little less people. But again, you're gonna start to get peppered with a little bit slower swimmers out there. If you are a slower swimmer, you can kind of ignore that advice. But the last big thing on the Ironman Lake Placid swim course is that there is a nice sighting wire that is about 5 to 6 feet below the water surface, where you should be able to see. Even in murky waters, it's a little bit tougher to see, but you shouldn't have too much of a problem with that because of that, right? Sighting on this course drops drastically if you can see that wire. If it is a clearer day and there is a ton of people on that line, I always encourage people to go out 3 or 4 feet on either side, and you'll be amazed at how much cleaner that water is. There's always a lot of people battling for the line, for the wire, but if you do get pushed off even 10 feet off of the wire to the outside, you might just have to sight just like normal, or even less, because you can take it to the bank that the people that are on that wire are on that wire. They're not sighting. They don't need to sight because it's already done for them. So you can kind of sight off of those people, and if you're swimming the same speed, you can have a lot more comfortable swim out on your own or with another group of people, and you will have less sighting as well. So use the areas around you. The last big thing on the swim is this area right through here does not have that line to sight on. So again, another reason why when we get closer to the end, people do slow down. But don't be one of those people. Maintain your pace, and you're going to be just fine. Remember, you've done a host of swimming up until this point, so it shouldn't be that big of a deal that you have to swim 200 or 300 meters without. So this is our bike course this year. You can see that we do have a ton of elevation, but there is a couple of great ways to have success on this course and race smart. So I'm going to highlight the first 10-ish miles here, and you can see we do have already 850 feet of elevation gain throughout this point. What you will notice are a couple of big things here. Number one, it looks super flat when we have it zoomed in like that, but when we take a step back here, you can see that once we cross this area of the point of, I call it no return, this is the point where you do exit the run course out there and you do start to climb up. You can see that some of these percentages are 5, 6, 7% right in here, and it's happening in the first 2.5 miles of the race. So this first real hill that you climb coming out here past the run course, the point of no return, that is the biggest area of impact on this course. You will have people flying up this hill, and you just got to take a back seat a little bit and just get up these first couple of hills with the main goal of getting your legs moving again, getting your heart rate down if you had a really hard swim, and just getting back into the swing of things, getting your fueling down, getting everything kind of dialed in. If you are a professional male or female, if it is a female race, then you have no choice. You just have to go with the pack here, and you have to be on it from the beginning. Coming up, the next couple of miles are up and down, but every time we're up, you can see that we have 3, 4 percenters. They're not super bitey, but what happens is you start to get towards the top of your cassette and you just want 2 or 3 extra gears than you have. So be ready to kind of battle a little bit, and don't be afraid to put it into the small ring here. There's no real winners that happen in these first couple of miles. There is the big section where we do the bobsled hill. We come back down, and once we exit this, we do go up again before we go back down. So be careful there. You can see that point happens right through here. This is our bobsled area where we exit the park. We take another right-hand turn, and that is the real big hill out on course. You will feel like you'll want it to be done, but in reality, it's not. If you come out of there ready to work up another big hill, then you will be all set. Last big thing here is we do have a flattish area right through here where you will want to go fast because you know the descent is coming, but don't get suckered into that place. Speed should be high up there once you get to the top of that hill and you have this flat little plateau here. But if you start chasing the speeds that aren't coming here, you're going to pay for it later. Let the speed come. It will once you hit that keen descent. This is, again, one of the more dangerous parts of the course. If you are a less experienced rider, just stay off to the right-hand side. Don't be afraid to pull the brakes if needed. There will be loads of people who would just kind of get down it. If you are a faster descender, this is going to be very akin to what happened when we talked about leaving the transition area. Make sure you are aware of who is around around you, because there will be some people who come up on you very, very quickly. So just keep your head on a swivel on this downhill, whether it's the first or the second loop, and it will be much happier days for you. You will notice that the middle portion of this downhill has a little plateau right through here. That is not a mistake. That is 100% accurate, and it is an area where, again, people really blow their legs right through here. Instead of going the 35, 40 miles an hour, they will want to keep that up, but gravity is only so strong on some of these negative 2% slopes, so you will naturally slow down because of your air resistance or aerodynamics. Again, just be smart here. You don't want to chase a whole lot of extra wattage here if you don't have to. You will pick speed back up again, where as you can see, you will zigzag down here to the bottom of Keene. It flattens out a bit before it drops you down again into, again, another portion of the course where it is a little bit tighter. You do have a tight left-hander, and it's almost always an occurrence where people get into that turn with a really, really heavy gear, and they'll try to get out, and they won't be able to because they're caught all the way at the bottom of their cassette. So make sure you're about mid-cassette when you do make that left-hand turn, and you're ready to rock and roll going through the Ausable River here, which is on the right-hand side of you. That will be a glorious thing, and this is an area of the course where you have the ability to, let's highlight it right to J, you have the ability to really motor this 10-mile section. And again, you still have 300 feet of elevation. It's not going to be an area where you don't have to climb up or work up some of the hills. There's hills everywhere out on course, but this is considered one of the flatter portions on course. Very common for you to get suckered into going too hard, and you'll be sucked from that Keene descent. You were going fast for so long, you'll want to keep that up, and you'll have a false sense of speed. But your computers don't lie. Make sure you're watching those, watching your power, watching your heart rate, keeping your cadence up, all that good stuff, right? And you'll be a much better off athlete later on, especially on the second loop here. So be going fast, but do it in control. If you feel like you're having a no chain day during this section, just keep it, right? Do not push it to the point where you feel like, okay, now I'm working and I'm feeling good working here. If it's easy, keep it easy. Keep that speed up. No reason to make it harder on yourself than it already will be later on. Because once you hit J and you make that left-hand turn, again, there's going to be a water stop usually right there. You'll make that left-hand turn and you will go up. This is a steeper hill. We're talking 5-ish, 6-ish percenters up through that point there. That is right through here. And we're going to highlight another big key area out here. This is the second key area out on course. This area right through here is very, very common for athletes to really just drive this hill. You see it every year because they had that flatter section, they had the Keene descent, so they've been going fast for a while at this point, right? And when you slow down, a lot of people don't like that. They like that one speed mentality. So they will have you'll have people chasing the wattages up this hill, and just be careful to avoid that. Do not do that. Get up this hill, but don't really push the pace. If you're a pro guy, yeah, unfortunately you got no choice. This is going to be one of the deciding factors on race day, which is going to happen right here. Almost always, well, without fail, there is a big attack at this point in time, and you're just going to kind of have to hang on for a little bit. This is still at the point of where riders from the professional ranks are going hard, guy or girl. Now, the next big section that we're going to highlight is this back section right through here before Wilmington. This is the turnaround point right at the top over at that Black Brook area. This is a little bit too far pushed towards that road, but it does go pretty close to that road at the top there. This is a nice rolling section, pretty shady in some spots out here, and you're going to love it. A big, let's zoom out here so we can get you guys sorted. So this is Wilmington, and this is our turnaround road right through here. So when you are going along this stretch of road, there's almost always, or there usually is, a windsock in this field right through here. When you're going out, you're going to want to pay attention to where the wind is going, right? It's usually going to be a little bit easier on the way out. Wind is usually pushing you guys out, and then when you make that turnaround to go back in, you will have to face it a little bit harder. So just be aware that that area is happening, I think it's right in here somewhere. But there's a couple of farms that do have some flags in the middle of the field, and those are great because they don't have anything blocking them, and you can get a true sense of the wind without it swirling or doing anything, right? You can get a really, really good gauge on things that way. Make sure you drive the course a couple of days beforehand, and you will identify some of the key areas where that is. I can't give you guys all the secrets, but that's a big, big one for race day. This is a rolling up and down section through here once you do get to this turnaround. It's a rolling downhill section, another area where you can really overdo it if you're not careful. And during this whole out and back section from the bottom to the top from this little peel off road, which is another tricky area, right? You will go down here. It's a little bit faster, it's a little bit windier before you make a sharp right hand turn to go to this out and back section. But when you're coming back, you just really need to pay attention to what's going on because it is kind of shaded and enclosed from the environment. So you can kind of get away with things for a little while. But once you start to get closer back in town, again, it's just going to be a little harder than you want it to. And don't fight that terrain an excessive amount. Okay, make sure you're using your gears and you don't have to stay in that big gear all the time. And this is the third big area out on course. Once you start to pass the area of where you started to go out, once you pass that on the way back in, then this hill does kick up. It gets people every year. This is a 7%er hill. Okay, this is a no joke hill. And once you come out of that hill right through here, and it's coming at mile 40, right? So there's that. You have a lot of stuff in your legs still, and then you have a little flatter section which will be very, very nice, right? But that hill, a lot of people really fight it, go up it really aggressively. I caution you against doing that. Pros, this is going to be an area where people start making some accelerations, and this is going to be where the selection really happens on race day. All right, most people can hang for 40 miles, but this is going to be one of those areas where you just got to be ready. They're going to go, and they're probably going to go beforehand, and then again, the last big one will happen here. Mile 40 on, we start to flatten out, but the challenge here is that you start to get opened up to the elements a little bit more. The trees start parting ways a little bit more. There's more area for the wind to kind of attack you, and that is exactly what happens with these headwinds coming back into town. Last big key area out on course, we're going to highlight this whole section here because we have 1,300 feet of elevation gain of our 6,800 that we have on this profile here. And you can see that it is a chunky uphill, chunky uphill. It's a fun course, but right at the beginning here, it's flat, right? You're leaving Wilmington. You almost always have a headwind, so you're in that aero position. You're really battling. With the headwind, it's easy to open yourself up to going way too hard here. I would almost rather you lose 5-10 seconds at this point in time, because once you get to mile 43 right through here, when you start to cross over the water here, that's really where it starts to matter. If you lose 5 or 10 seconds because you weren't just going super hard with everybody there, that's not the end of the world, because you're going to start to pick them apart later on because you've saved a little bit of energy right there. Once you pass the gorge, which is usually right around here, then it does kick up a little bit more again. It's a fun finish, right? And you're going to have periods of flat, you're going to have periods of up. But when the ups come, don't be afraid to use the cassette and the gearing that you have to get up those hills. The athletes that really struggle to stay in that big ring or force themselves to stay on that big ring on the first loop are going to be the athletes that pay on the second loop always. If you are a monster biker and you can stay in the big ring, no problem here, that's a different story. But if you're at the top of your cassette in the back, just barely turning it over, driving a super massive torque, you're going to pay for it later on. Now, coming up the Three Bears here, everyone's favorite thing to talk about is these three bears, and I just want to highlight this area so we can really identify those three bears. We got the first bear, which is right through here, second bear here, and then third bear right through here. Now, they're not really that big, right? They're not a major hill, but it's because of everything that you did beforehand why the three bears are so tough. Right? Don't let it get in your head. They'll have them labeled, the mama bear, baby bear, papa bear, right? And it's more of a psychological thing than anything on race day, but you can drive up those things no problem. Use the downhills that precede them to get halfway up them on almost every single one, right? There's a couple that you can just get up if you just drive it right. All right, so don't be shy going into those things. You can use the downhills to get up a good portion of the uphills with minimal effort here. Penalty tent is usually located back through here, right at this point in time where the run course almost meets it. Okay, and then you'll loop around. You'll go down a little downhill to Mirror Lake, where you will take a left-hand turn, and you will do the whole thing over again. Be careful once you pass the transition area and leading up to it. There'll be people getting their personal needs bags. There'll be bodies everywhere, just doing things, right? Saying hello to spectators, hugging mom and dad, doing whatever it is, right? So you got to have your head on a swivel there in the crowded area, and you're going to have to keep that adrenaline down and not get so riled up during that section. Very easy for you to overcook that section, and when you think about it, for what, right? To look good. Yeah, I mean, you can look good for your pictures, but I would rather have a great day than just looking great on those pictures. A personal preference, I guess. The second loop is more of the same here in all reality. You're going to ride them very similarly. Whether you're a pro or an age grouper, it's going to be minimizing the damage, right? It's going to be saving a lot in your legs or as much as possible while still putting down a good little clip on the bike. If you wanted to look at a best bike split here, here's an example of someone's best bike split who is racing. Right, we can see that the speed, once we do hit the J, right, that speed does decline, right? It does kind of have some opportunities to come back here and have the speed be up again, but for the most part, right, once you pass or once you get to J, your speed really just steadily declines until you get back to transition, and that messes with your mind out there on race day, and it's just the way the course works, right? If you wanted to even split this one, that would be great. Going to our time analysis here, if we go to 5% increase here, again, you want to pick off some of the easiest places to do so. This place right here is a 15-second gain for a 6-minute section. That is kind of approaching the area where we need to start paying attention here, so we do have the opportunity to gain some time, but again, all of this doesn't matter if you totally cooked yourself on race day. My favorite thing to do is to chase some of these other smaller ones. I mean, we're talking a 1-second gain over the course of 30 seconds. That's okay. If you wanted to do something a little different, 5-second gain over 4 minutes, I mean, you really want to pick some of these skinnier sections. So what we like to do is we like to highlight and zoom in and then get really nitty-gritty and decide where the best places are. 6 seconds over this 2-minute area, that's a great place to start. This area right through here, if we're zooming in again, we have a 2.5-second gain for 18 seconds. You can do this all day and you can figure out where the best place for you to save some time is. But you can see here 5% extra on your time is going to net you about 5 minutes faster on race day, or 7 minutes faster on race day. And it all goes down to what you want to do. I would highly suggest you ride these targeted paces if this is the first couple of times you're doing it, and if not, then you can kind of get a little experimental later on. Run course, very, very similar to the bike. In regard that there are some hills that you will be running on race day, about 1,200 feet of elevation gain. The course on Ironman's website, I believe, has a little bit less than that. If we download the PDF, we can see here that Ironman lists our 2-loop course at a 1,600 feet of elevation gain, and you can see that's mostly common in a couple of different places, right? Let's turn on the map view to make it a little easier for you. So we are not stopping in the horse stables this year. We are exiting transition and we are going out. You can see that the first couple of miles are very unique to a race. We have a negative slope of about 3. We have some 7s, and then we even have I believe a negative 12% mixed in there, right? You'll be running up that later on. But for the first half a mile, the goal is to just really get down the road, whether that's whether that's a run or just a walk even. It doesn't matter. I prefer the latter, where you're kind of just getting down these really, really steep sections. So if you wanted to just jog down about a quarter mile down the road and then just start walking down the super steep downhill, then that is perfectly okay, because if you really start pushing the pace early and you're not a front runner, right, you're going to activate all those muscles that you don't want to, and prevent yourself from having success later on in some cases. And again, after you pass Lisa G's, that's when the race really starts for you. And again, you want to just take these first couple of miles where you approach the entrance of the real run course, right, that out and back. You just want to just arrive there. In my argument is this always starts where the real work starts once you get to the bottom of this hill here, the point of no return. Okay, just like we talked about on the bike, the point of no return here on the run exists, and it is a real thing. Okay, once you get to this section, you can see that the terrain flattens out. If I can highlight, the terrain flattens out big time. We have 270 feet of elevation gain of our 1,200 feet here, so there is not a lot of elevation in here. The problem is it comes again and again and again. You're constantly running up, running down. There's no real flatter portions out on course. The first real one that you have is this section right through here, but again, you're always running at an angle, right? There's always something happening on this course back here. The great news is it's usually pretty soft back here. Yes, there are a couple of hills that you need to worry about. This first one right through here always gets people. And then again, we're going up. It's a 2.5% hill. It's nothing super crazy. And because of that, people just go for it back here. Again, I'm against that. I want you to just get down the road here, use your nutrition, hydration, pacing strategies that you've practiced up until this point, and just be smart about what you're doing. Please, please, please. Okay, because you do have to run back on this section again. Once you start to head back into town, there is a big hill. Just get up it, walk up it if you have to. The goal on that hill is just to not sky your heart rate, and just don't ruin your race here. Every year we have people who sprint up this hill and then are gassed for the remainder of the race. Don't do that. That is ill-advised. Ill-advised. Next big section out on course, this is the second key to success on the run course, is this flat section right through here. You have the ability to keep that pace up that you maintained on this whole out and back section through this point. There's going to be a lot of people here. This is where it starts getting busier and busier and busier up until you get to the transition area before you make a right on Mirror Lake. Very common for athletes to totally overdo this because they're seeing loved ones or people who are cheering them on. Once you get to the stoplight hill, this hill I told you to pretty much walk down on race day, you want to be very careful here, and you just want to get up this hill. Run up it, walk up it. It's not a huge deal if you lose 5, 10, even 30 to a minute on this hill for most people, right? Professionals are a little bit different, but for us, right, we want to get to the top of this hill or by the Shell gas station or whatever gas station it is now and have the ability to run further than that, right? So after we get past there, we do have an out and back section through Mirror Lake, and I will tell you that in order to get to this out and back section, this turnaround, it will feel like it is the furthest point out on course ever. It'll feel like it's never coming and never coming, and this is again one of the areas where you just want to be patient, okay? It is there, it's coming, you're doing a great job. No matter how slow you're going, it will feel like you are crawling. Do not let that get to you. Be mentally strong on race day and just know that you're running pretty much to the end of the road there, okay? Right where you come down on the bike course right through here. Know that you're running pretty much to that point. There'll be a guy sitting in a lawn chair, and he'll be watching you go around a corner. But personal needs is going to be located right in this area right through here, so you have almost exactly halfway mark to hit that personal needs station. And then you're coming back down and you're doing the whole thing over again. And just like the bike, the run is ran similarly the first and second loop. You can turn the heat up a little bit on the course, but you don't really want to crush this downhill, right? You're running pretty conservatively at this point, and this is an area where it might change, where you do pick up the pace a little bit and you just get down this downhill section and not totally overdo it. You're looking at -6s, -7% here. So again, another area where you have the opportunity to blow your legs. And then this section from miles 15 all the way to 22 is kind of the the time to kind of go for it, right? If feeling good. Then the hill back up to the horse tracks, that kind of changes slightly. You do want to get up it, and if you do have the power to get up it, do it. Because you only have a little bit left, right? And by the time you get up past the gas station or to the gas station, you're going to be running on pure adrenaline because it's only a quick out and back section before you are done and you cross the finish line, which, if we go back into town here, you will run down Mirror Lake Drive. You'll take a quick right-hand turn and a left-hand turn, and you will enter the oval at about the halfway point here, and you'll do half of a lap, and you will finish right through there. It is one of the best courses out there. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. I'll happily talk to you about strategy and all that good stuff. Keep an eye out for the athlete guide that is coming out hopefully in the next couple of days. We're a little over 2 weeks away from the race. And with that, good luck to everybody.